Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to Spirit Hall Ice Arena. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Drop the Gloves podcast, an all-inclusive, what we hope becomes weekly look at all things Gillette Wild Junior Hockey. An idea born from the good folks at Web Pros Media with an assist from the Paradox of Sports podcast. What we're looking to do here is a reintroduction, if you will, to the people of Gillette, Campbell County, Northeast Wyoming, pretty much anywhere you can watch Facebook, to the Gillette Wild and the hockey community that has supported them for so long. We will get into that later when we talk with General Manager and Head Coach of the Wild, Ethan Hayes. But first, we're going to start all the way at the top. We're going to talk with the commissioner of the North American Hockey League, which oversees the North American 3 Hockey League, which is the division that the Gillette Wild play in. Mark Frankenfeld will be the first guest. And before we get to that, we have to thank the good folks at Underdog Nutrition for helping us out and coming on board with us to bring you this episode and the episodes coming up in the future. Underdog Nutrition provides guidance to help you hit your health and fitness goals, no matter what your starting point is. They offer advice for training, nutrition, as well as high quality supplements from brands you can trust, healthy snacks, and more. Go to their Facebook page, give them a like, check it out. If you have any questions, go in there and talk to them. They're good folks. That's Underdog Nutrition. They can get you where you want to be if you're looking for a healthy lifestyle. Now, we are 24 hours from the puck dropping right over my shoulder there at Spirit Hall Ice Arena. 7:05 tomorrow night, we're back on the ice. We host the Badlands Sabres, which is a team. This is their inaugural year. They're going to come over. We're going to play them here Friday night, and then we're going to head over to Rapid, play them Saturday night. So hockey starts less than 24 hours. So do what you need to do, make plans, but we want to see you tomorrow night, Spirit Hall Ice Arena. The puck drops at 7:05. Now, let's start with the reintroduction, getting everybody back, getting them ready for hockey. Like I said, we're going to start at the top. So here he is, the inaugural guest on the inaugural episode, President and Commissioner of the North American Hockey League, Mark Frankenfeld. We'll just get right to it, Mark. What exactly is the NA3HL?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you're good. Look, the NA3HL is a pretty young junior league in a lot of regards. And when we got involved with the NA3HL, and I'll probably refer to it as a 3HL just to keep the NA part shortened a little bit and the acronym part, but we got involved in the 3HL, about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, really started focusing on it because we believed in that level of hockey, not only for development opportunities, everything that we're about, where players' goals are to get to college and our goals are to help them get to college, but also we thought that there was a lot of young guys playing hockey at this level, and the leagues weren't capable to providing what the North American Hockey League can provide the 3HL. And so we got involved for kind of a dual purpose. One, our overall mission is players going to college. Like I said, doesn't matter if it's Division I, Division III, NCAA, ACHA. It's about players playing hockey, advancing, developing, going to college. And we recognize, one, this is a great thing to get involved in for that purpose. And for two, these young guys wanted to play an organized, a professional ran league that they can feel good about the time and the energy and the effort and the money and everything they're spending, and also putting back into the community. And so with that being said, when we launched the NA3HL, was basically a merger acquisition of the old Central States Hockey League, which was a bus league team out of Michigan. No different than the North American Hockey League was a bus league team out of Michigan some 47 years ago, and now we're across the country. We took the NA3HL from that bus league in Michigan, and we grew it out in Minnesota, and then we grew it out into the Frontier Division, and we went out east, and then we went down into the southern footprint as well too. So we've created this national brand, like we did for the NAHL, for the NA3HL, and it went along with our mission, just about everything that we do. If we do it in the NA, we want to do it in the 3 as well. And so when you talk about, the 10-person staff I have sitting here in Dallas, plus our 4 or 5 remote people that are across the country, we wanted to make sure we serviced the NA3HL at the same level as the NAHL, with technology partners, social media support, everything we do with live broadcast, live stats, in-stat analytical video, all these things that we do at the NA level, we do in the 3. And so that's given the league some muscles to perform, and let the coaches and owners not worry about running their league, which the Frontier had a bunch of great owners and a bunch of great communities. Some of those communities were part of the NAHL back in the early days, but we took that responsibility and weight off of those guys' shoulders so they could worry about their teams, their markets, and the players entrusted to them, so they could build a better product, a better community-based product. Because in the end, whether you're in Helena or in Gillette or anywhere out there in the 3HL or in any of our markets in the NHL, the owners that are passionate about daggone sport ice hockey, and they want to give back to the players, and they do it through hockey and through the community. And so we just really aligned the mission. We replicated what we do in the NA3HL and the NAHL for the NA3HL, and we've just seen a tremendous product improve over the years. We've seen growth of the league. We had a little bit of expansion quick, and then it contracted down to where you had more of the serious operators and the ones that are really doing the things right on the ground. And that's when the Frontier division came in. In the 14-15 season, we were well aware of the folks out in that neck of the woods. As I mentioned, there were some teams out there like, Helena and Bozeman that used to be in the North American Hockey League during a merger back in the early 2000s, which I was around for one level or another. But we were really well of the area and the markets, and the Frontier owners and teams were trying to do all those things right. And they were also, not in big cities to where, there isn't, so many things to do that fans and folks and sponsors won't go support a local junior product. And so that kind of made the Frontier division a little special. And it was interesting. It was an interesting relationship when I got to know the guys in the Frontier division and when they came on board with the NA3HL. But they've added great value to the league and the brand, and we're really happy to have them as partners out there in the North American 3 Hockey League.
So are the teams their own independent, I guess, franchises and stuff? Is that how it is?
Yeah.
I see where, like Badlands picked up the team. So the ownership groups in these towns, are these franchises? Is that what kind of holds some kind of a value to it? These guys have these franchises, and then they, in the event of where Badlands did that, is that a sell of a franchise from one spot to the other, or how does the teams work?
So a couple things. So the way the North American Hockey League works is it's owned by a board of governors. I work at the pleasure of the board of governors, and everybody in my office works at the pleasure of me. And then what we've done is we've created a membership structure. And so we stay away from the word franchise because
Okay, gotcha. I won't say that again.
That's okay. It's very common because that's what you think about. The NHL is pro franchises. It just potentially invokes other franchise law, which we aren't really operated that way. So we have memberships, and so an owner would purchase a membership, and he would be bound to the responsibilities of that membership in the bylaws. And within that governance structure, they can request to relocate, they can request to sell, they can request to go inactive. There's a pretty nice plan that's been built over the course of many, many years with some very smart people that build our structure over the course of the time. That goes back to what I said. We've taken the NAHL structure and applied it to the 3HL. So all the history and the mistakes made in the NHL and building bylaw structure and rules and regs and stuff, all those mistakes that have already been made and the lessons that we've learned there, we were able to give that to the NA3HL as well. So, but yeah, the Badlands team was a purchase of an existing membership and a relocation, and that happens from time to time. And what we tend to see is when teams have to sell and relocate, it's because it's actually a good thing, where sometimes the owner in that old market or the old market isn't performing or producing for whatever reason the best they can for the players. And then you get somebody that's reinvigorated, maybe something that's new, shinier, a little bit more value. A lot of times we see that transfer go to that type of an opportunity. And then as that happens, they say the tide rises all the boats. Well, in this case, some of the boats are just, more efficient and more versatile to do things. So we're excited about the Badlands group and the facility and everything there. We're looking forward to that. And unfortunately, it had to do with the relocation. But again, it's viewed as a good thing, because sometimes that creates kind of an upgrade into the division with new members, new owners, new people wanting to invest and create, some new competition and stuff.
Okay, so I've been up in Gillette for about 12 years. This part of the world right here, I guess it's all I-9. Maybe you can take all the I-90 all the way up to Canada and stuff. But when you see Badlands and Rapid, you got us here, Sheridan, Cody. Why do you think there's been such a good group of teams come in here? And is that something that you were shocked to see? Because it seems like the hockey's really caught on here, and the teams seem to be doing well.
Well, yeah, I'll go back a little bit. When you go back to the old America West League, which had the Helenas in them and the Bozemans and Fairbanks was in it at one time, and Bismarck was in it, partnered with these guys, and I think I said Billings already. So Great Falls, a lot of those teams, those guys were in a structure in USA Hockey that was tier 2, right? And the North American Hockey League was tier 2. And so that structure, when it merged, what tier 2 is today is so much different than it was many years ago. But my point is, the teams in the Frontier division were what I'd call kind of tweeners. They were in the markets where they were able to produce community-based initiatives. They were able to produce fans. They were able to produce corporate sponsorship, but they weren't maybe in a big enough community to be a tier 2 NAHL team or a tier 1 USHL team. So when you ask me, was I surprised about the folks in that neck of the woods? The reality is I wasn't, because of the experience we had with them in the North American Hockey League in the early days, where they were this close to doing everything they needed to do at that level, which was part of some of our original conversation. When you look at some of the great fan base that's going on right now in the Frontier division, and some of the placement and some of the development that we're starting to see. So the reality is, again, when you go back to junior hockey and you're in smaller towns where you can have a home team town and a home team crowd and really do a good job for that community, these are the places that tier 3 teams really can succeed, especially on the business side as well. And the business side's important because that helps them reinvest more into the community, more into the players, and hopefully that translates into more movement with players and fans and sponsors and all that good stuff.
I know, talking with Ethan, the coach GM here, he had talked about the importance of the product, not just on the ice, but some stuff that they're doing for just the in-house experience, from the music, the videos, the stuff like that. I think for staying in town for a weekend, you're not trying to keep people from running to Denver to an Avs game, or even going over to Rapid to a Rush game, but for bang for your buck, to stay in town, to get a cab, go over to Spirit Hall and spend a couple hours watching hockey. I think it's a good product. Is that what you guys are hoping to put out there?
Well, I think it's a great product. I think, you're competing with, what are you competing with locally? Maybe movies, maybe bowling.
Well, we had our college basketball team. We had a real, that's a whole other, you can go down a rabbit hole on that if you want to. We had a real successful JUCO basketball team here. And then there was, when everything happened, there was some fighting between us and Sheridan, which I'm sure shocks you. And so the college teams got shut down. So now we just voted to have control of our own college now, and it's been a whole deal. So I think it'll be another year before that's back. But really what we compete with are our high school football teams, right? And when they're in town on Friday night. But other than that, yeah, you're right. And mainly they're competing against the elk hunters and stuff here in the fall. But once winter really sets in, it's the best thing going in town.
Right. So like we talked about, you're competing against some of that stuff. You add some of the local, junior college sports, some of the high school stuff. And then if you put on a product that's entertaining, and then fans come out and get to know the players a little bit and get to watch hockey. I mean, in the buildings in the North American 3 Hockey League, you can be up close and in person to what's going on the ice. And so it's pretty entertaining. It's very family friendly in terms of finances and also entertainment. So I think you nailed it right there. And I think that really is a great example of what the teams in the Frontier that can drive some fans and do the stuff on the ice to make it a fan experience. I think that's important for sure. And again, like you said, it starts getting colder and starts getting darker, and people fall in love with hockey. It's a great place to go.
Let's talk about like at the actual team structure level. So how do the teams go about getting the kids? I know I've seen before that there's a draft. How many are they allowed to keep? And is there like ages per kid you're allowed to keep, or kind of how does the structure of the team work from the roster standpoint?
Yeah, so in generally speaking, we try to limit the amount of rules in terms of age and restrictions like that. We want our teams to have as many opportunities as they can to build the best team they see fit. So that being said, there's a rostering process. A team like Gillette would have come off of last season with veteran players that they would have rights to within the 3HL. And then they would be given what's called a tender, which is kind of like a contract or a commitment that player is going to play for you, and you're going to give that player an opportunity to play for you. And then you have the draft, and the draft kind of covers some of those areas where you may have to tender a player because everybody in the division knows about them, but you may not have to you may have to tender a player because everybody knows about the player, but there may be a player hidden somewhere that you could draft them. And so you've got these different assets between your veteran guys where you can trade. You've got these tenders which you can trade, and you've got these draft picks you can trade. And somewhere along that, the coaches have got to have a little bit of skill and magic to how that all comes together and works. And that's how you kind of build your protected list. Through that, teams have tryout camps. They work with NAHL teams. They come to NAHL combines, and they look for as many players as they can that are at that level, because every coach is trying to make their team as best as possible. But from that aspect, all of that stuff goes into the at the tier 3 level, which is a player agreement, which is the final piece of that, to where it kind of outlines what's all the rules of engagements are between the team and the player and all that good stuff. Those are things that the league is not engaged in. The league is engaged in facilitating all the operations of what the team needs to be in a league. But those are some of the things that the team does in order to procure players and to tender players and just draft players and to have camps and sign players to a contract so they can come out and compete with the best team that they possibly can.
Now, with the players, you talked about them moving up and kind of going up through the ranks to college and whatnot. Is it also coaching and officials and stuff? Are they working through the 3HL for a chance to move up to the NAHL? Is that also stuff that's going on there, or no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of movement in the ladder development. And that could be the players, that could be with the coaches, that could be with the officials. We see guys that coach in the 3HL that end up in the NAHL, that end up moving on and beyond from there. The same thing with players. One thing that we've done, more so recently than in the beginning, as we're building the structure of the 3HL and getting that level up to a real serious level of play. We're seeing more and more in-season movement. We're seeing more, last year with COVID, obviously nobody was infecting anybody else's, herd, if you will. But prior to that, and we were seeing a lot of in-season movement where guys were getting up from the 3HL, getting a chance to practice, getting a chance to play, getting a chance to stay in the NA. And we were seeing a lot of guys in the NA3HL moving up to the NA the next year or Division III college. We had some Division I movement recently. And, one of the things that our real focus is that because I have a junior that's I have a daughter that's a hockey player, that's a junior, and she wants to sign a Division I, deal right now, and that's not how the process works. There's a process to it. And then as you go through it, you start to really, maybe realize, okay, I may not play Division I hockey. I may play Division III hockey, or I may play ACHA hockey. And then it becomes more about a life thing. And our whole goal is for players to play in college hockey. And if they play in our youth product of PHL and they matriculate to the 3HL and then play college, that's great. If somehow they do that path, or they start from the 3HL to the NA and play college, that's great, or end up in the USHL. We just want players to be able to develop, play a great level of hockey, have a great experience, and someday play college hockey. And so we try to set some of the expectations off of all of our players about, you're only doing this to move up. You're doing this to develop, become a good hockey player, become a good young man, and we're going to do everything we can from an exposure perspective to give you that opportunity. But what we've seen is we work on making sure the structure's there. The teams in the 3HL have been great. The coaches they've been able to employ and keep on staff are been unbelievable at developing these young guys. We're just seeing more and more of that upward movement, and ultimately more and more guys going to college, which is our ultimate goal.
Nice. I also a girl hockey dad with my daughters in high school on the U19 team up here. So I'm with you on that aspect of it. I got into the stuff helping the Wild from the volunteer standpoint. I do the announcing and the music during the games. Cause like I said, there's no better place to watch the game from right there at the scoring table. So that's how I got into it, and I love it. But there's also a whole team of volunteers, from the ticket takers, goal judges, everything that goes on. Is that something that's important across the entire spectrum of the 3HL? And is that somewhere for, if people want to get a little more involved and get a little closer to the action, these teams they'll take volunteers? Well,
listen, I think, that's an understatement how important these folks are and stuff. I'll tell you, the whole concept of junior hockey is community-based initiative. And if you're in a position to volunteer, whether it's on the billet side or whether it's on the operational side or the off-ice official side, I mean, these teams aren't running on big professional budgets. They can't pay a lot or at all to get this stuff done. And so if you take a look at it, that look, I'm doing something good for the community. I'm helping these young guys have a great experience and can move on to college hockey. And if you can look at the bigger picture of getting involved and it gives you something to do and keeps you busy, and I get a feeling you enjoy what you're doing and the stuff you volunteer for, and I bet you the folks doing the off-ice officiating and the scoring and stuff like that are, and the billet families are too. So there's a great opportunity for folks locally to get involved and become part of the team. And you're doing good for the community. You're doing good for the team. You're doing good for young guys that are there to please and are there to try to write the story, to be write themselves as a hero in their own story, and whatever they're trying to do in junior hockey as they move up and onward into their life. So it's fantastic when and it's so important. I tell you, real quick story. I was a coach in my former life about 20 years ago now, and I moved down here to Dallas, Texas from Ohio. I was coaching at Miami of Ohio, and I moved down here to coach a Texas Tornado. And I remember we were down in Fort Worth, and I remember there was a booster club there, the Fort Worth Fire Booster Club. But they had this booster club that's been with the Fort Worth Fire for all these years. But the Fort Worth Fire was a minor league team that was disbanded for 2 years or 3 years. And so the Texas Tornado at that time was the junior team in the North American Hockey League, and they moved to Texas, and there was a booster club already in place for them. And it was like some of the greatest people in the world. But it's off-ice officials, billet families, people that get involved in all that stuff. It's kind of their own little fraternity anyway, just like that Fort Worth Fire Booster Club. And I'll tell you, it was so important to have that kind of support and those type of people working in the community to help everybody be successful. It's important the junior teams are successful. They can stay there a long period of time. They can do good things to keep pumping revenue and resources into that facility and all the other stuff, and that all stuff makes important and deals and manages other things in the community and helps other things in the community as well too.
Yeah, like these people, it's you have your, which I'm sure you deal with it, with your daughter and her team and the girls and their teammates and their parents. I mean, it's where we're definitely split into the winter and summer. Well, come summer, we don't hardly see any of the hockey people. I mean, you have your social media stuff, but here now in the next couple of weeks, the winter family gathers. Yeah. And now we're going to spend the next 6 or 7 months together. And it's a cool pattern and stuff to get in.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Now, coming up for this week, games getting ready to start. Compared to where you were a year ago with all the craziness in the world, like how much better are you feeling now than you were a year ago?
Yeah, it's like, it's funny because, so, in the North American Hockey League, we extended our season by 6 weeks, which felt like a good idea 6 months, back when we did it, right? So we finished the season and everything wrapped up in the middle of June, and it was awesome. Everything we went through, all the restructuring, all the rescheduling, all the dealing with. It was awesome to see the NAHL championship, these guys playing at the level they were, scouts in the building, fans, people drinking beer, cheering, just being in a junior hockey building. And so we had a compressed summer. Like when you said starts up next week, you're right. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe that. The biggest show on ice, the NHL showcase is three weeks from Wednesday. So it's coming, but I'm excited. I'm proud of all of the owners in our leagues. They did a great job to make sure the product stayed on the ice. They all did it, put themselves in financial harm's way. I mean, it's not easy to play hockey without fans in the building or without.
It sucks. Yeah, it sucked. It sucked volunteering. It sucked playing music. Dude, I'm telling you, it sucked. We were lucky. We got fans back in pretty fast. Even it was at 100 and then it got boosted up. But the places that were gone for like months and months, dude, it just sucked. And hockey might be the best product, whether there's crowd or not. It's still intense. The boys, I mean, it's still from the NHL down. But I'm telling you, being in an arena with nobody there announcing and playing music, it sucked. It was the only way to say it.
Well, and you're cranking this music and you're like, who am I cranking this for?
Nobody.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? We're really excited because I give our owners at every league just a ton of respect. I mean, a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, hitting this thing head on, and they did it for the players. And I go back to that. Our owners are in it for the players, and they're able to contribute to the communities and through hockey, these young guys. And so it'd been easy to shut down, and we didn't. And we had a great year. Everybody got through it. Knock on wood. The effects of COVID, weren't detrimental to our players, our player pool, that age level, and we learned a lot. And we're going to be. We realize that all the issues with COVID are still unresolved, but we're going to work through them. We're more prepared than we ever, have been to get this next season off and running. And I think every one of our teams are too, and we're ready. And hopefully this strand or variant or whatever the heck's out there does minimal damage in the end, and we can get back to more normalcy. And I say that with all respect to how serious it is and how it affects people in so many ways. I am certainly not discounting any of that. But right now we're excited to get back to playing hockey and get back into our normal cycles as best we can.
Nice. I got one last question before I let you go.
Yep.
Kind of a silly one. Of all the things you manage and questions you get asked and everything, is there one thing in the hockey realm of the hockey world that you just wish you never had to deal with again? Like, is there one thing you could wish would just never show up on your plate again?
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good question. I tell you, I think I'm desensitized to challenges because all I do is deal with solution and resolution. But the thing that I would tell you is something I would never want to deal with, which we've been very fortunate to not have to deal with it very much. Having technologies here, hang on.
That's all good, man.
Is losing a player during the season, losing a player, dealing with something. You had the Broncos incident a couple years ago, which was just tragic for the hockey world, and we've had we lost 2 players this summer with the Columbus goalie that played in the league prior, and then a current player, Mac Motzko, and just anything like that when you're dealing with players and stuff like that. Those are the things I never want to deal with again. But for the most part, there's a lot of things have been around this block, quite a few years now. Not just because my blinker was stuck. I've actually been here for a while, and there hasn't been too many things come across the desk that we haven't had to manage or deal with. And we try to take a really positive approach to it and a problem-solving approach, and try to get at the end, the right result. And but I think if I had to not want to have to deal with anything, would be anything along those lines ever again. So, and many players is what we have in the leagues. Very fortunately, we don't have that experience very often, but we do. But other than that, just looking forward to the season and just getting everything back on track, and getting showcases back where we can, it's hard to see we have 29 teams in the North American Hockey League, and I try to do a 3 or 4 year cycle visit there, and we have 34 teams in the 3HL. It's, you start putting that together with, events that are not in team markets, and then having kids at the age that need you to do things. It's very difficult.
Oh yeah.
Very difficult to see everybody. So I'm hoping at least to see everybody at the showcase coming up in December in Blaine, and get this show back on the ice, if you will.
Awesome, man. I appreciate the time.
You bet.
Thanks for answering some questions for us.
You bet. Anytime. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Best of luck.
You too. Thank you.
All right, we want to thank Mark for taking the time. These Zoom calls, when you do them in the past on Paradox of Sports, when we wrap up, we will take a few minutes and kind of chit chat at the end. Mark had cut out 20 minutes for us. We went almost 30. And as you could see at the end, he started playing with that phone a little bit. Once we stopped the interview and stopped recording, his phone just exploded. So we cut that last week. He is very busy. The NA3HL actually had a game on, I believe, Tuesday night. So he was getting ready to go. So we very much appreciate that. Now, an interview that was taped a couple days ago, last night, with the head coach and general manager of the Wild. Last year was his first season. It was Ethan Hayes. Coach Hayes gave us, same thing, about 25 minutes, 28 minutes. The problem is only about 16 minutes of it is usable. So you're going to see a weird cut twice during the interview. That is on myself. I believe it has to do with the way the disc that was put in the camera to record the interview was formatted, judging from the pattern of which the camera followed to screw up the interview. I will be better with that moving forward. So when you see those weird little cuts in there, and it threw out some good stuff. That's what Ethan's, you're going to see. He's a good dude, good interview, getting down a little bit more to the nuts and bolts of what's going on in his mind as he works to build this team in his second year at the helm. So the 2 little weird cuts, just know that was on me. We'll be better. We will be better next week, I promise. But without further ado, your head coach, general manager, Ethan Hayes. Coach Hayes joins us. We're 24 hours away from puck dropping. Where are you this year, 24 hours from puck drop, as opposed to where you were a year ago, 24 hours from puck drop?
We're way ahead. We have way more depth at every position, goalies included, than we did last year. I'm really excited about it. We got a lot of young guys that can play, that are going to be contributors right away. We got a lot of guys coming back from last year that are going to be some serious talent guys. So we're way ahead of it. We just did a scrimmage today in practice, and I was really impressed with the pace and the competitiveness and the kind of, the whole culture of the game. I was impressed today by it.
How does it go where you come in last year, kind of the first year? I'm not sure how, when you took the job, how much time you had to start getting your own guys here. But is it when you see even like college, I base a lot on college football, you'll see a guy, it'll take him 3 years to get his guys in. What is the timetable here from?
It's not that. It's not like college football, I guess, if that's what you want to compare it to. So a lot of my contacts are in Minnesota, Wisconsin. So what we do is we go after seniors in high school. We, as soon as they graduate, and we figure out if they want to play junior hockey, what their road is, what their goals are. And if playing college hockey is what their goal is, then they're interested in playing junior hockey. And, you go from there. But it's usually a 1-year deal. So a lot of these guys, a lot of these new guys like Alex from Wisconsin, he's one of the big guys I was after this year. Ian Richards from Fergus Falls, obviously Isaac Young, Declan's brother. So a lot of them are, and Coach Shaw did get a job with the Kenai River Brown Bears. He recruited some of these guys before he took that job. So I'm not going to take full credit for all these guys here, but most of them are, it's a 1-year turnover. So you can take over a program, and then you as hard as you want to work, you can get as many of your own guys in there as you want. But what I tried to do is give everybody here a shot at staying, because I didn't want to change that much. But a lot of those guys from last year are returners from the year prior also. So these aren't all my guys yet. So it does take probably 3 to 4 years to get that. But in your recruiting process, it just goes year to year.
Now we had talked before about like the structure and the ages of the players and what you guys are allowed to have. I know when I talked to Mark, he really didn't answer my question, but the structure of your roster, are there age limits on certain ages of numbers of players, or how do you, what are the rules on building a roster?
Well, there really isn't any rules until somewhere by beginning of February, where you have to cut your roster down to 25 guys. I could have 40 guys on my roster right now. Only 25 of them are protected, but yeah, I could carry as many guys as I want.
Any age they want to be.
Well, that's where it gets tricky, and I don't even know the youngest age you can be to play junior hockey. But personally, I don't like having high school kids, because especially with this many 01s, we have 10 guys that are going to be 20 years old if they're not already 20 years old. Some guys are going to turn 21 before the season ends. Last thing I want to do is get a high school kid in here that loses focus on high school, his grades and his schooling, which is going to ultimately be the deciding factor in how good of a college he gets into. Have him lose control of his GPA, get focused on the wrong things, and then it's hard to promote him to any school. So I really don't like having high school guys. I have a couple this year, but they did online school last year, so they know the role of it. It's not new to them. But what I try to do is everyone should be out of high school.
Gotcha. So there's no age limit. Like you can only have so many 20-year-olds or so many 21-year-olds.
No,
okay, gotcha.
No, but you really don't want 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds playing junior hockey.
Well,
right?
no, especially with boys in the men. There's a. I mean,
right.
if I showed you a picture, a picture of me at 15 and me at 16, there was a big difference.
Right.
Some guys at 16 and 17. So I get from the physical aspect of it. You get some 20 and 21-year-old kids out here that are big, and I mean they can hurt somebody.
Well, I mean Tucker Lee, 6'3", 205 pounds. You can't send a 15-year-old that's 5'7".
You can once.
5'7", 135 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not. It just isn't right for that kid. They're going to go, even if they go back home, whatever. I want everybody to have a great experience here, and I want everyone to know that they learned something about being a grown-up and a good human, not just being a hockey player.
I know from one of our favorite things to do is after the games, we go to Old Chicago. The guys always go there after the games. They are, and I can look at it from two standpoints. As a father of 3 daughters, and have seen some boys around that you don't want around your daughters. I also cooked and served my whole time through college at restaurants, and then played sports myself. And to watch your group of guys come into a restaurant last year, there was never any trouble. They were polite, they were cordial, and that's
Yeah,
I think
and
that's stuff you like to see.
That's part of the goal, right? Like I said, teaching them how to be good young men instead of just hockey players. So how to handle yourself everyday life is definitely part of the deal that you get coming to Gillette to play hockey.
What are the impressions that you get of Gillette being here the year and a half? I mean, do you like the support? Do you like what you get from the community?
This is honestly one of the best places I've been or seen. You know, even when I was on the road when I was coaching with Great Falls and we'd come here on the road, you know, this was one of the best fan bases. I always tell the story to people that this was my favorite place to play on the road because your fans, you know, they all line up above the goalie. And one game, a couple guys threw some beer cans at me. And
Okay, yeah.
I just
Don't do that. We don't.
No, I'm
don't
not.
throw beer on
I'm not
people.
saying
Yeah.
that's
No, that's happened. It's not just you. That happened over
I'm not
here
saying
first.
it's the right thing to do, but I love how people buy into the hockey here, you know.
Yeah.
And we don't have college basketball, we don't have college anything right now. So hockey's the only thing that the town kind of has to hold on to. So we have the most sponsors that Gillette Wild Hockey's ever had right now. I feel like at any given time, if we needed something as a team, somebody would step up and help us out. So I love being here at the hockey standpoint. To be honest, I don't love the summers here. There's no lakes. There's no water.
We got Keyhole's not. It's not your lake.
That's what
it's
everybody
not a great
says.
Lake,
That's what everybody
it's
says.
a
But
decent lake.
when you grow up in northern Wisconsin and you live on a lake your whole life, and then you got a cabin on a lake, and there's 45 lakes in between that you got to drive by to get, it's just different.
Yeah.
So it is like, it's nice here. I like it here. I'm not bad mouthing Gillette at all. I like, and I hope to be here for a long time. But I just wish there was a little more water.
Yeah. No, you're a few hours from a lot of fun things.
Oh,
You're
for
about
sure.
5 hours from a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things. You guys aren't. This is not to compete with the Avalanche or. You know, I know people here. Hell, they run up to Minnesota and watch games, or even going over to see Rapid City.
Yeah.
But for the chance to stay in town for the weekend, and not drop $500.
Right.
You bring the family and the kids out here, and I know that's even things you've worked on for this year. Of it needs to be good hockey, and then it needs to be entertaining.
Well, yeah, and I think part of that is that goes back to the recruiting process of getting actual hockey players in here instead of guys that just want to play hockey. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys that would love to be on a junior hockey team just because they don't have any direction in their life on what they want to do next, right? So if I talk to a guy in the off season and he says, no, I don't want to play college hockey, but I want to play juniors because I have no idea what I want to do next year. Well, I probably don't want that guy because he has no future goals or no aspirations in the game. So getting the right guys in is part of that. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Now, just the sponsorship and the money aspect of it is very important. Another thing is your billeting, and that's something as a first generation hockey fan and stuff. Now I find the billeting aspect just wild, that people just pack their kids up and send them across the country to live, and then vice versa. Other people are just bringing these young men into their houses. So
yeah.
How has it been with kind of you and the billet situation here, and just how important are they to the success of a program?
Without billet families, junior hockey wouldn't exist. So that's the bitter truth and reality of it. We can't have a program if our guys don't have a place to stay. We don't have a dorm building. We don't have a apartment building. We don't have enough money to rent out hotel rooms or whatever that, besides the billet houses, there's no other option. So without the billet families, junior hockey can't be a thing. So it's extremely important. We're super lucky. We have more than enough billet families, and that's awesome. Because when I was in Great Falls, and I would never say a bad thing about Great Falls, but it was, sometimes it was hard to find places for your players to go. But our billet coordinator works really, really hard to make sure that we don't run into that problem. So super thankful for all the billets, every single one of them, and our billet coordinator. Because I definitely couldn't do it what she does.
As you look back on the Fraser Cup, and that's what this league and what you guys are playing for, there hasn't been one kind of out west. And you talk about, so Sears, he comes from, I call it back east, but east of here,
Midwest.
it's good, Midwest. You from the Midwest. Can you build a team out here that can go compete at that level?
Yeah, you can. It's a little harder. The reason being, it's all geographical.
Playing
right?
out on, you give yourself a month or two, and you fiddle around with lines and you move guys around, and then versus when do you kind of look in the season to be like, I mean, I know you want to stack points all year and try to do well, but when do you kind of go through the roster and move guys around and then have that drop date line on, okay, these are the guys we're going to have to finish this out right here?
I don't have that in my head right now.
Okay, so there's not a structure to building a team or how it works.
Everybody's different. I want to give everybody that showed up for me in the beginning of the year, I want to give everybody a chance before we start talking about stuff like that. I mean, I haven't seen these guys play in one game yet.
Okay.
I've seen them play in 4 or 5 practices. That's it. So a lot can change. Some of these guys didn't have ice all summer. Some guys had ice all summer, and you can tell the difference. So I want to give everybody a fair shake. There's no cut date for me. There's no this guy's done by this time if he doesn't do this date. For me, it's all about, for me, it's building a relationship with every single guy and figuring out what's best for both of us, the team wise and him. If there are guys here that aren't getting enough minutes and they're just not getting a chance to be seen, then we have to have a sit down conversation and be real with each other and say, hey man, there's just too much talent in front of you and you're a little too far behind to make some minutes this season. Do you want to go somewhere else? And I'll give them the option. And I'm not going to force anybody out of here. If guys want to stay and be supportive but know their role and be comfortable with that role, I'm 100% fine and okay with that.
Okay, so like I said, Friday night, 7:05, the buckle drop. There is no competition in town, I don't believe. I think both the football teams are gone. I know I work with a couple guys. They're going to be covered head to toe in either doe or mule doe or cow piss. They'll be up hunting. But come out, watch some hockey. Taylor is gone, so what's the bench going to look like? You'll be suited up. You'll look good. Who's going to be with you? Because that's the thing. What I'm going to miss about Taylor, what we don't have, is somebody yelling, too many, every time the other team changes. We had a too many tracker. So during the game, we play a little over-under in the scoring box. That was his favorite thing to yell. So what's the bench going to look like?
We got Austin Newson to fill in this year. He was enrolled to go to school, Black Hills College, I believe it was, and I called him, asking him for help, and he said, he'd love to do it, but he had to get into Gillette so he could continue his education, which was important to both
And he's
of
a
us.
Gillette kid. He came up through the program here.
Yeah. He played high school hockey here, I believe, played juniors here for a year or two, played juniors up in Minnesota somewhere, I think, also, and then came back when I took the job over here. But yeah, so he's 100% committed and involved. So I'm happy to have him. Guys like him. All the guys know him. Obviously, the rookies don't know him, but all the guys that returned, all 16 of them, know Newson, and they have a good relationship already. So it'll be pretty comfortable.
Cool. Man, I appreciate you cutting out some time. I know you guys are busy. You don't have a lot of time to get them ready. So
Yeah.
You've had them for the week, and we look forward to tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
All right. That's all we got for you. That's the first one. If you like what you saw, like the video, if you love it, share it. Let people know. Get the word out. Tell your friends. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that both football teams are out of town tomorrow night. Grab your friends. It's the forecast. It's going to be 93 tomorrow. It'll be hot as balls. Come cool off at Spirit Hall Ice Arena. Home Fire Foods. They'll have the concession stand set up. The beer garden will be open. And Ethan has worked on the experience in the arena and the product on the ice. So come out and support the team. But before we get out of here, we didn't want to leave you without any hockey. We talked a little bit about it, but now we want to show you a little something. A replay, a short shootout clip, if you will, of the boys last season winning a shootout. So we'll leave you with a little bit of hockey. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow night, Spirit Hall Ice Arena. Puck drops at 7:05.
So the goalies are going to take their place in front of their nets. And so we're here for my first shootout I think I've ever seen in person. This is exciting. So taking this first shot, number 10, this is Keegan Ferguson. Keegan Ferguson for the Quake. He's going to go to Wheaton's left, go to Wheaton's right. Try to fake him out, but Wheaton's got to stop. Woo! Go Cole. All right. So coming on for the Wild, Declan Young. They set the puck center ice. Bryant gives him the go. Declan picks it up. Goes to the left of Perino. Just dribbling in nice and slow. Not on net. That went wide to the right. Possibly a little high of Perino. So the Quake. They're bringing out. Show me your number, buddy. Number 18, maybe? Nope, 16. Cade Rosansky. Cade comes in. Left of Wheaton. Back to the center. That was wide right to Wheaton. Wide right. All right. Baker. Baker gets set. All right, they give him the go-ahead. Picking it up to center ice. Left center. Ooh, yeah! Woo! Baker in the 5-hole of Perino. He went to Perino's left, started to go back to the right, went down center, right through that 5-hole. All right. The Wild. They have made one shot. The Quake 0. For the Quake. Number 9, Kadidis. He's to the right of Wheaton. Tries to go to the other side, loses track. Your Gillette Wild have just won in a shootout.